Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
Today we're taking a trip, metaphorically speaking, to Belgium, a country really known for, well, precision right, chocolate, brewing.
Absolutely. And we're zoning in on something that seems simple, but really isn't.
Their national dish, Moules-Frites.
Mussels and fries. Yeah, sounds like standard bistro fare.
But the sources we dug into suggest it's way more than that. There's some real cultural weight here.
Oh, definitely. There was actually a 2008 UNESCO report.
UNESCO. Wait, for mussels and fries. Seriously.
Seriously. It recognized Moules-Frites specifically, called it a symbol of Belgian cultural identity. It's often described as, the marriage of the sea and the soil.
Wow. Okay, UNESCO recognition. That definitely elevates it. So it's not just like a tasty meal. What gives it that status? The simplicity or...
I think it's the synthesis, how it sort of perfectly captures local abundance, local history. It didn't just pop up fully formed. It evolved.
Okay, let's unpack this then. That evolution sounds interesting. Where do we start?
Well, we have to look at the two parts separately first, because they have totally different histories.
Right. Let's start with the mussels. Our sources suggest they were pretty basic fare, almost survival food.
That's right. They were famously known as the poor man's meat.
Poor man's meat. Why?
Well, simple reason. They were cheap and nutritious. And crucially, super abundant, especially in winter months.
Ah, right. When getting fresh fish from the sea would have been much harder, maybe less reliable.
Exactly. So for those coastal communities, think Bruges, Ghent, Ostend mussels were a reliable staple.
Makes sense. So that's the mussels, starting along the coast. But you said the fries were separate.
Completely separate, and actually the fries, or frites, were part of the Belgian diet much, much earlier.
How much earlier are we talking? Because you really do think of them as a pair now.
Oh yeah, they're inseparable now. But fried potatoes, they go back to the 17th century in Belgium.
17th century,
Yeah.
Wow. What's the story there?
It's pretty fascinating, actually. The story goes that in the Meuse Valley, the winters could be really harsh. Rivers froze over. Okay. So the villagers couldn't catch their usual small river fish to fry. Instead, they started cutting potatoes into little fish shapes, or strips, and frying those in animal fat.
No way. So fries were originally a substitute for fish.
That's the key origin story, yeah. A practical filling substitute when fish wasn't available.
That's brilliant. Okay, so we've got two distinct timelines. 17th century fries, already a thing. Then mussels gaining popularity along the coast, maybe 18th century, as this affordable food source.
Exactly.
So when do these two paths cross? When do they become Moules-Frites?
The first time we see them documented together is quite specific. It's in the Brussels culinary records.
Oh, official records.
Yep, dated 1781, and it lists the dish clearly. Moule et pommes frites, mussels and fried potatoes.
1781. So it wasn't like an overnight sensation, more a gradual coming together.
Precisely. It took a while longer for it to really achieve that national icon status. Our sources show that by the late 19th century, it was everywhere.
From simple taverns right up to fancy brasseries.
Across the whole country, yeah. It had really arrived.
It's interesting, though, because often with national dishes, you hear a story about, some specific chef or a royal banquet where it was invented.
Right. But not this one. And what's fascinating here is there's no single inventor.
No Monsieur Frites or anything.
No. It really seems to have evolved organically, probably among, Flemish fishermen and farmers, people who had access to both things.
The coast for mussels, the fields for potatoes.
Exactly. It wasn't dreamed up in some high-end kitchen. This highlights how true culinary classics often emerge from necessity and local resources.
Right.
People figuring out what works with what they have.
Yeah, it really underlines that idea. Humble origins, but it became something great. These fishermen and farmers, they just figured out it was a good combo.
Pretty much. They discovered that, steaming the mussels often in white wine, maybe beer created this delicious broth.
Yep.
And then pairing that savory, slightly acidic moisture with a big pile of salty, crispy fries, well, it just works. It's balanced. It's filling.
A perfect textural thing, too. Soft mussels, crispy fries.
Exactly. It was kind of an ingenious pairing, really. Born from what was available locally. Geographic good fortune, maybe?
Okay, that makes total sense from a historical perspective. But let's shift gears. Let's talk about making it right. Because, anyone can boil mussels and fry potatoes, but getting it perfect.
Yeah. That's where the details matter. The sources we looked at really get into the chef's secrets.
Let's hear them. What makes or breaks the dish?
Well, the standards are pretty high for both parts. Let's start with the mussels. The classic way, marinières, involves steaming them.
Right, with aromatics.
Exactly. Typically white wine, butter, quite a bit of butter onions, garlic, maybe some celery, fresh parsley. Simple, but the quality of ingredients is key.
And how they're served is important too, isn't it? You don't just dump them on a plate.
Definitely not. They absolutely have to come in that traditional black enamel pot, the marmite à moule.
Why that specific pot?
2 reasons, really. It keeps them piping hot at the table, steaming away. And crucially, it holds all that amazing broth at the bottom for dipping your fries or bread into.
Ah, the broth is gold. Now, you mentioned marinades, the wine and herb version. Are there other common styles?
Oh, yeah. Marinara is the classic baseline, but a la creme is hugely popular.
That's cream-based.
Exactly. They add heavy cream or creme fraiche to the broth, makes it richer, silkier, delicious.
Okay.
And then you also see au curry. Curry powder added to the steaming liquid. It's got a bit of a kick, maybe a nod to historical trade routes or colonial connections.
Interesting variation. But regardless of the sauce, the mussel itself has to be handled right. What's the crucial first step?
Freshness. Absolute number 1. You need mussels with tightly closed shells. They should smell clean, like the sea. Briny.
I'm prepping them.
You gotta clean them really well. Pull off those stringy bits, the beards. Scrub the shells. And here's a vital safety tip. If a mussel is open, tap it gently on the counter. If it doesn't close up within a few seconds, discard it. It's dead or dying. Not safe to eat. Same goes for any with broken shells.
Got it. Safety first. So once they're clean and sorted, how do you cook them? You said steam.
Yeah, and quickly. This is where people often go wrong. You steam them over high heat for just like 3 to 4 minutes, max.
That fast?
That fast. Just until the shells pop open wide. Any longer and they get tough, rubbery. You want them plump and tender.
Okay, 3 to 4 minutes, high heat. Good wine or beer in the pot. Got it.
Yeah.
Now, the other half, the fries. My nemesis. How do we avoid sad, soggy fries?
Ah, the frites. The secret is the double fry. Non-negotiable.
Okay, I've heard of this. Explain it.
First, the potatoes themselves, usually cut fairly thin. And for the absolute best flavor and crispness, traditional recipes call for frying them in beef tallow or duck fat.
Whoa, okay, not just vegetable oil. That fat makes a difference.
Huge difference in flavor and texture. So first fry. You heat the fat to about 160 degrees Celsius. That's 320 Fahrenheit.
Lower temperature.
Right. This first fry cooks the potato all the way through, softens it, gets rid of internal moisture, maybe 5-6 minutes. Then you take them out.
And let them rest.
Yes, crucial step. Let them cool down a bit, let steam escape. Then, just before serving, you do the second fry.
This is the hot one.
Exactly. Crank the heat up to 190 Celsius or 375 Fahrenheit. Fry them again for just 2-3 minutes.
What does that do?
That high heat creates that amazing golden brown, super crispy, shattering exterior while keeping the inside fluffy. That's the magic.
Okay, double fry. Low, then high. Got it. And seasoning. I feel like I always mess this up.
Another cardinal rule. Salt after frying. Never before.
Really? What?
Salt draws moisture out of the potatoes. If you salt them before frying, especially before the second fry, you're basically guaranteeing sogginess. You undo all that crisping work.
Okay, salt them the second they come out of that hot fat.
Immediately, while they're still hot and glistening, serve them right away, steaming hot, ideally with a good dollop of mayonnaise or aioli.
Belgian mayo, of course. And to drink. What's the perfect pairing for this whole glorious mess?
The classic pairing is a Belgian wheat beer. A wit beer.
Why that specifically?
It's usually light, refreshing, often has notes of citrus and coriander. It just cuts beautifully through the richness of the mussels broth and the fattiness of the fries. Cleanses the palate.
Makes sense. Though a crisp white wine would work too, I imagine.
Absolutely. Something dry and acidic like a Muscadet or a Sauvignon Blanc. Also excellent.
Okay, we've got the history, the evolution, the cooking secrets nailed down. Let's circle back to the culture. Why is this relatively simple plate of food so important to Belgium? You said it crosses divides. Here's where it gets really interesting.
It really does seem to. Many sources literally call it Belgium on a plate. It just embodies certain things about the country.
Like what?
Simplicity, maybe. Resourcefulness, using what's locally abundant. That balance we talked about, the sea and the soil.
And you mentioned uniting different regions, because Belgium has distinct linguistic communities.
Exactly. It bridges the gap between the Flemish-speaking north and the French-speaking south, Wallonia. It's something everyone seems to claim and enjoy. It's a shared identifier in a country that sometimes struggles with unity.
So that UNESCO recognition wasn't just about, like, a tasty recipe.
Not at all. It was acknowledging its role as a cultural unifier, a shared heritage. It's deeply embedded in the national identity.
And they celebrate it actively, right? There's a festival?
Oh, yeah. Brussels hosts the Fête de la Moule, the Mussel Festival, every summer. Huge event, massive crowds, tons and tons of mussels being cooked and eaten. It's a real celebration of the dish.
It's amazing how food can do that. Take something born from, necessity and local circumstances.
And turn it into this beloved national symbol, a masterpiece of simplicity, really.
It truly reflects that Belgian spirit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Humble roots, but executed with care, maybe a touch of inventive flair. Grounded, but satisfying.
Perfectly put. It's that synergy of flavor, history, and national pride, all in one pot.
So yeah, our deep dive really confirms it. This is where the sea meets the soil and Belgium finds its flavor.
Absolutely. But, thinking about that origin story, particularly for the fries.
Right, the fact that they started as a substitute for fish.
Exactly. They were just a stand-in, born of necessity in the Meuse Valley centuries ago. And look them now, half of an iconic national dish, famous worldwide in their own right.
That does raise a really interesting question, doesn't it? For you, our listener, to think about.
What things are we eating today, maybe treating as just substitutes? Maybe plant-based alternatives, specific grains, maybe even lab-grown stuff eventually. Things we see as just convenient or cheap replacements right now.
Could some of those, through clever pairing, local adaptation, maybe just time, could they evolve?
Could they become part of a future globally recognized national dish? What new sea meets soil are we maybe eating right now without even realizing its potential destiny?
Something to chew on, indeed. Maybe alongside your next batch of perfectly double-fried frites. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.